Andrew, great news. I'm becoming a Tradwife. I'm quitting my job. I'm gonna stay at home. I'm just gonna be baking pies, doing baby stuff, scrubbing the floor, and it's all for you. It's all to submit to you. You'll be at work.
But wouldn't I have to have some kind of job where I worked away from the home like all of the time and I would never
You'll be working a lot.
be here?
I'm talking 12-hour days. The weekend a lot. But you're doing it to provide for your very traditional family that you will see occasionally.
Wait. Can I be a Tradwife?
That's not trad. You're not it's
So I can make pies, you go work.
the Tradwives warn me about guys like you.
Some men just aren't providers, and that's okay.
What now, Tradwives? What now? Today I want to talk about Tradwives.
We live in a day and age where traditional homemaking has been forgotten about and even looked down on. Where women are fighting to be in the same positions as men, indoctrinated to focus more on their careers and less on the home. When God created men and women more than just biologically different. Our roles are meant to complement each other, not to compete. Our husbands are to be the breadwinners as we are to be the bread makers. Somewhere along the line, feminine has been replaced with feminism with the sole purpose of keeping women out of the home, which forces those to rely on the government to teach and raise our children. Marriage is falling apart because the God who created it is being left out of it. And an overall disconnect in the home because the one created to nurture it has been empowered to neglect it.
Are they a real thing? I'm going to argue that it's more of a hashtag than an actual sociological phenomenon. I just wanted to pop in here and make sure that I actually said what my thesis was up top. Based on my research, women are not leaving the workforce in droves to become traditional homemakers. I think what's more likely is that because most women are in the workforce, because most mothers are working mothers, that instead we've become more receptive to this glamorized ideal of domestic labor that's portrayed by social media Tradwife influencers. If more of us had a direct experience of homemaking, I think we would more easily see through the glossy veneer that a lot of these online personalities create. Like a lot of people are still surprised when they find out that some of these influencers are in fact independently wealthy. Being a Tradwife, looking at a Tradwife influencer and fantasizing about this imagined, idealized prairie home companion life, that's where it's at. That's where the juice is. That's what people actually want. People don't actually want to live it. They want to fantasize about it. I also want to talk about the most viral Tradwives and why it is that they get so much backlash for posting what at first glance would seem to be very harmless, wholesome videos.
Toddlers requested some yogurt this morning and we were running low, so I just decided to make it myself. Depending on the consistency you want your yogurt to be, you can let it sit for about 6 hours or overnight before popping it in the fridge for another few hours. Once I pulled my pot out of the fridge, I gave the yogurt a good mix and it was ready to serve. Put some yogurt in the bowls, topped it with the granola, added some raspberries and obviously a drizzle of honey. I popped any leftovers in the fridge and they were so excited to have them.
A lot of women don't have a job because they're angry feminists. They have jobs because they need to provide for themselves, and God forbid if they have children. Most people don't make enough with their single income to get by with a family of one or more kids. A little reality check that I think gets left out of a lot of the online discourse I've seen about Tradwives. This is from the United States Bureau of Labor Statistics. According to data from 2022, 65% of married couple families with children had both parents employed. There are also a lot of stay-at-home moms who are stay-at-home moms simply because they can't find a job or they're disabled. There's actually been a slight increase recently in the number of moms who are full-time employed because after COVID, there's been a rise in remote work, which offers more flexible options, which makes it easier for a lot of moms to manage childcare and a full-time job. For a lot of families, it's just not as simple as saying like, oh, we just think it would be better to have one parent at home. There's a lot more going on. And a lot of it has to do with the brutality of this economy and how much it costs to simply get by. Never mind if you actually want to buy a house one day.
Go ahead.
Let's take a look at these numbers. I ended up not liking the chart I made, so here is a new one. If we look at the Tradwife's favorite decade, the 1950s, you'll see that the median salary was $3,000 a year, and the average new home buyer could expect to spend about $7,000 on a new home. As we fast forward to the 1980s, you see that the numbers are bigger, but the ratio is still the same. $21,000 is the median income, $47,000 is the price of a new home. It's about double the annual income. Fast forward to the year of our Lord 2024, the median income is $44,000 for a household. It's more like $72,000, and the price of a new home is $440,000. So you see that? You see how all that is a nightmare? And housing prices are just one piece of the puzzle. Wages simply have not kept pace with inflation. No matter how much you want a Tradwife lifestyle, you just can't reproduce the economic realities of the 1950s that made Tradwifing possible. My point is that a lot of these Tradwife gals who come on here like, hey, don't you want to be like me? Don't you want to just stay home and cook? It's like, that's not really a real choice that a lot of people have. They're presenting it like, oh, this is just something you can do if only you would realize that feminism is evil. When I've seen Tradwives talk about budgeting and living off one income, they always have this kind of dismissive, oh, you just need to manage your money better and reprioritize and sew your own clothes from burlap sacks and make, all your food from sourdough starters, whatever.
Plenty of men out there that make this lifestyle realistic, and they do what needs to be done. They might work more than one job. They might put you in a smaller home. They might change states to a state that is more realistic to live off of one income. You might not even be able to be fully on one income. You might need to supplement that husband's income. That's okay. That is okay. There's nothing untraditional about that. However, a masculine provider man will always do what he needs to do to protect and provide for his family.
Pretty obvious that the reason this hashtag has grown so much in popularity. Do we have quiet on the set by any chance? Are you giving him a roll?
I'm gonna give him a piece of roll.
Yeah, it's good.
Also, your button may have...
Oh, that's not very
It
trad.
have always been that way.
Not very trad at all. Let's put him away.
I'm obligated to tell you about that.
Let's put him away. We're all about traditional values. We gotta talk about this lady.
Welcome back to part 2 of some conventional or unconventional things me and my husband do in our marriage. Number 3, and this one's gonna ruffle some feathers. I submit and I serve my husband. This is a biblical thing, so don't twist this into something that it's not. It is a blessing to be my husband's helpmate, and the Bible has the man of the household, not the woman, so he leads.
Ooh, my boobs. I just want to stay home with my boobs and my husband. Ooh, don't get mad at me because of my big boobs. I love her. I also think that is, and this is pure speculation. I'm so sorry if this is incorrect or out of line. As someone who's been watching weird videos on the internet for quite some time now, I think that this is a fetish. I think she has a fetish. And I'm not the first person to say this, I think that she has a submission fetish.
There is a lot of direct eye contact. There's that sugary, sweet ASMR voice. Her hands are very active and they are very prominent. Yes, this is fetish content.
So now we are fetishizing traditional wives. Or maybe that was just directed to me. I don't know. Because of what? Because of the way I look? Because I cook and clean for my husband? Or is it because in a healthy, biblical manner, I submit to and serve my husband? Could that be it? No, it's not that. Let's go back to the first one. A pretty girl making pumpkin bread.
who loves to serve her husband. Wow. Perhaps it's the fact that men are naturally drawn to very feminine, warm, nurturing women who do believe in traditional gender roles.
And you have to always keep that in the back of your mind when you're looking at stuff like this online, where it's like, is this real even? Does she even have a husband?
Like, no guy can be that good. I'm gonna make you bagels and cream
No,
cheese.
we're not talking about Nara Smith. That's different. Chish.
Sorry.
Silence, gimp.
I'll just go back in my box.
That's our thing. Can't mention Tradwives without talking about Ballerina Farm.
This is Ballerina Farm, and people are accusing her of faking what it's like to actually live on a farm. They're saying that her content is unethical and it paints an unrealistic expectation for Tradwives. And as more people dug into the account and the business, they realized that the owner, Hannah Nealman, is the daughter-in-law of the CEO of JetBlue, a guy who was worth around $500 million. Meaning that most of what's being seen on Ballerina Farm isn't possible for the average person to obtain. All because the farm isn't a do-or-die venture without a safety net. It's just another business that's part of this family's massive portfolio portraying an unrealistic expectation for moms.
Ballerina Farm started out just posting videos of her dancing. She was a classically trained ballerina. She went to Stanford. Her father-in-law started JetBlue as well as some other airlines. So she's not hurting for money, but all of her videos are very rustic, very, ooh, we live on a farm, ooh, look at our eggs, look at me baking bread. And it comes off as very pastoral and idyllic and very lovely. People point out that stove behind her is, I think, like $20,000, something crazy. She also claims, I don't know her name.
Hannah Nealman, I am Mrs. American 2023.
Oh my God, hold on, I have to look up her name.
Mimsy Crouton.
Mimsy Crouton. Hannah Nealman. Hannah also stoked the flames of controversy when she recently gave birth to her 8th child in a bathtub, and then weeks later participated in a beauty pageant. So a lot of people are saying, like, you're putting out this image of unattainable motherhood. She lives up to every feminine ideal while having 8 kids. Like, it's wild. And people surmise that she's quite wealthy. She must have, like, a team of people behind the scenes helping her. From what I've seen in this Glamour article, she denies having nannies, but she does say that she has a personal assistant. I'm sure those lines get a little blurred. I do feel like a lot of the backlash, a lot of the controversy surrounding her does seem to stem from jealousy, which is normal. Look, I get it. It is infuriating, and people are right to be annoyed about the state of their jobs and the state of the economy. But that's a reason to stay off social media. That's showbiz, baby. That's what Instagram and TikTok are all about, is showing you the unattainable because it's entertaining. Not nearly as many people would watch if she was a average workaday mom. Plenty of accounts out there that are dedicated to documenting a much more standard mom experience of life. I also wanted to touch on some of the feminist criticism of Ballerina Farm and other Tradwife influencers that I don't agree with, such as the videos put out by this creator, whose name is Caro Claire Berkey. She's made a bunch of videos about Tradwives, and she's been quoted in several media outlets who are interviewing her about the rise of the Tradwife influencer.
What does it say about our economy that if you're a woman, you can go to Columbia, then work at Meta, then go to Stanford graduate school, and you still end up getting better business opportunities by filming yourself cooking? This is not a judgment on Emily Mariko or on any of the influencers who profit off of this. Like, I do think there's a certain argument where it's like, yeah, there's probably better quality of life. She runs her own business. She gets to influence. She's making a shit ton of money. Makes sense. It's logical. This is to say, though, that there is no better argument for how wild the cultural context is around performing domestic labor online than the fact that Emily Mariko has that type of resume and Hannah Nealman went to fucking Juilliard. Some of the smartest women of our generation are using their minds to get pregnant, cook, and share it in a curated fashion online.
I looked for a Tradwife filter, and the closest I could come was mob wife filter. So this is what we all have to live with. I think it's totally unsurprising that a woman would get better business opportunities by being pregnant and performing domestic labor online. As I hopefully explained well enough at the beginning of the video, most moms, and I assume most women, are participating in the workforce. So we're now, for the first time in history, able to glorify domestic labor and being a homemaker, because a lot of us aren't experiencing it. So it's easy to fantasize it being this fun, glorious thing via social media. So that's point one. I also feel the need to point out that she says the smartest women of our generation. Like, we're talking about two people, Ballerina Farm and Emily Mariko, whose content I'm not familiar with. But, I don't know, this is still a pretty rarefied opportunity. I don't think that, again, there are droves of people becoming massive Tradwife influencers. It's truly a handful of people. I've also seen the argument made that if you say, well, this is actually a perfectly valid choice and something that a lot of women would choose for themselves if they were able to, money notwithstanding. I've seen this creator and another anti-Tradwife content creator on TikTok talk about choice feminism and how that is actually anti-feminist, to say that it's perfectly valid for someone to want the Tradwife lifestyle.
But no, feminism has never been about choice. It is not about choice, and no feminist in the past has ever fought so that a woman would have a choice to choose between going to work and staying at home. Choice feminism, also known as white woman's feminism, makes feminism about a woman's individual self-actualization instead of what it's really about, which is collective liberation. When we make it about individual self-actualization, my autonomy to choose what I want to do in the world, who I want to be in the world, we look at the state of work in this society and go, I don't want that. That doesn't seem like it's going to optimize me, self-actualize me, get me where I want to go in life. Which is why you have a bunch of these Tradwives in training going, feminism must not have worked because I don't want to go work. It also makes it so that anytime you criticize a woman's choice, you're being anti-feminist. Well, if it's about your right to choose, then every choice is feminist. It's about women supporting other women. And that's not true. You can do things that are anti-feminist and bad for feminism. Some of the problem is that we are so benefited from feminism, even in the most conservative circles, that we forget what the actual fight was about. The fight about feminism was not about you getting to choose to work or stay home. It was about the right to not be seen as property. It is the right to be seen as someone who is just as human as a man, that has thoughts and feelings and a brain that works just like a man's. That's the reason we weren't allowed to vote, or to hold property, or to get a credit card, or a bank account, or to divorce our husbands, or to say when we wanted to stop having children, or to consent to medical procedures, because we weren't seen as human as a man. We were property.
And while I do agree that there's always going to be something unsavory about the idea of submission to the man, you can't ignore the Christian, right-wing, evangelical, and in many cases white nationalist overtones and undertones that are present throughout a lot of Tradwife content. But I also think that these creators fall into a trap that is set for us by the patriarchy, is the idea that anything that is inherently or at least traditionally feminine is a worse option, is a worse choice. It is labor. Domestic labor is labor, and it's labor that has as much worth as whatever it is that men are doing at Meta. Then there's Nara Smith, who rose to fame by posting videos where she says things like, my toddlers told me they wanted cereal for breakfast, so here's how I made cereal from scratch.
This morning I asked my toddlers what they wanted for breakfast and they both said cereal. So cereal it was, and we got started right away. I made 2 types of cereal. The first one was chocolate chip cookie cereal. So I mixed some flour, peanut butter, maple syrup, milk, and chocolate and formed that into a dough. Then I rolled tiny little balls and flattened them out to resemble little cookies. I put all of them on a baking sheet and then popped that in the oven for about 10 to 13 minutes.
Because obviously anyone who knows toddlers knows that they don't want something 4 hours from now. But as this very wise TikToker pointed out, this is most likely a joke.
Nara Smith is a whole-ass comedian, and y'all aren't giving her that title, but I'm about to give it to her. Whole-ass comedian. You want to know why? Okay, she started out just making food from scratch, right? That's great. I love it. And then she said, my kids wanted a PB&J for breakfast, and she proceeded to make the sourdough and the jam from scratch and the peanut butter from scratch. Okay. Caused a lot of outrage. Earned her a lot of engagement, followers, controversy even. Oh, she was so controversial because it took her 3 hours to make the PB&J, right? So she took that same formula, my kids asked for blank, and she pretty much used it in every single video now. Every single voiceover, she begins it by saying, my kids wanted blank, so that's what I'm making. It's hilarious because it's rage bait, and she says it with such a deadpan tone. My kids wanted yogurt and granola this morning, so I'm going to quickly whip up yogurt. It only takes 10 hours. She's kidding. She's not kidding about making the yogurt and granola, but she's kidding about, like, my kids woke me up early this morning and asked for this thing that will be ready in 10 hours, and she says it in a very monotone. It's rage bait.
Once again, just a little trick to get people to keep watching and get people to comment. It reminds me of this other account where it drives me crazy that people are actually wondering if this is a joke or not. Oh my god. Oh my god. This lady is obviously kidding, and Nara Smith is probably kidding a little bit when she says, you know, my toddlers wanted this for breakfast. I also don't understand why Nara Smith got lumped in with Tradwives. Neither Ballerina Farm nor Nara Smith, to my knowledge, use the Tradwife hashtag. Like, they don't call themselves Tradwives. That's a label people have put on them. I remember one of Nara Smith's videos from a while back where she expressly says, I cook because it's my love language. I don't do this because my husband expects me to. It's just something that I like to do.
I just want to say that I love cooking for people I care about, and this is not something that's expected of me. This is just something I love doing.
I think probably because of the backlash, people being annoyed by her kind of unrealistic recipes, she's been posting more videos of her like going out to eat, videos that show her husband doing the cooking.
My husband doesn't cook, but he does make tacos sometimes. So he went to the store, picked me up my favorite drinks, and got started on making some steak and fish tacos. Started by pickling some onions and setting that aside while he started chopping some cilantro to make a mango pico.
I really don't think that she does fit into the Tradwife paradigm. And just like Ballerina Farm, I would argue, like, is this actually pushing an agenda, or is it just entertaining us? Except, now I'm gonna argue against everything I just said. Nara Smith and Ballerina Farm are what? Mormon. If you know anything about the history of the connection between Mormonism and mommy vlogging, you know that there's a lot going on.
You Utah girlies, I've never seen anything like it.
I always say that the influencer was kind of born in Utah.
What is it? Are you guys all just creative, or is it just the audience there?
I think it's both, but there's also something I think about the Mormon culture, because I remember when, early 2000s, I was a child, there was like a push for women to journal. And when the internet came around, that was a thing that the leaders of the church kind of pushed out, was like for these women to almost use these blogs as a way to document. These girls started these blogs to document their life, and what it turned into is just people being like, oh, where did you get those jeans? From there, that's, you have an influencer who is able to push product and convert sales because they've built this trust with their followers.
I don't think that either Ballerina Farm or Nara Smith makes a big deal out of their LDS faith, Nara does post videos of her like reading her scripture. She's talked about how she's early in her Mormon journey, like she's early in everything. She's only 22. Oh my God, she has 3 kids. A lot of her recent videos, you can see her beautiful pregnant belly, so she's obviously not wearing the magic Mormon underwear, which if you don't know, that's something that all temple going Mormons wear. I'm not ruling out that Ballerina Farm and Nara Smith are both some kind of Mormon psyops. Stay tuned for our next video, which is going to be about the connection between mommy vlogging and Mormonism. That's all for now. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already, and if you would like to turn on notifications by clicking on the bell, you'll see the next time we upload. We have a baby who I'm sure you've heard in the background, and so we post when he'll allow it, when it fits in to his busy schedule. So yeah, I'm a working mom. I have a full-time job and a full-time baby. So this is my topic. This is, I know, I feel everyone's pain. Okay, that's all. See you next time. Pleasure having you. Have some sourdough on your way out.